Hello, dear listeners. Here is Andre Branco, and you are on the channel Souls Like. Today I bring you a story that will touch your heart and make you reflect on family, boundaries, and the true meaning of helping those we love. Get ready to get emotional. Alexei Paikin had a sacred refuge, his country house, her grandfather's inheritance he turned with his own hands into a true oasis. In just 3 years, the old wooden cottage came to life: two cozy floors, a spacious balcony where breakfast turned ritual, a gourmet area with professional barbecue, and even a small artificial lake that reflected the sky. Located an hour from the city, surrounded by centenary pines, that property was his sanctuary. There, the weekends earned another rhythm. Alexei woke up with a bird's corner, worked the earth with his own hands, and felt the stress of the city melt like snow in the sun. It was the only place where he was truly free. In professional life, Alexei was a respected name. Kitchen chief of a trendy restaurant, he had improved his talent in Italy and collected awards in gastronomic competitions. But for him, cooking was not just a profession, it was a passion that lit fire to his soul. The problem, he hated when they tried to explore their gift to the interests of others. And that's exactly what happened on that fateful Saturday. Alexei's plan was simple and delicious: planting new currency shrubs in the morning and spending the afternoon reading a book on the porch with a cup of hot tea. It had already dug the holes to the seedlings when Car Clay interrupted the peace of the place. "Son, we have visited," announced the unmistakable voice of Zinaida Viktorovna, her mother, coming out of an imposing black SUV. Behind her, four well-dressed strangers. Two couples got out of the vehicle with the air of those who were in a social event, not in a country house. Alexei was straightened, cleaning his dirty hands, and faced the scene with suspicion. Before he could ask anything, Zenaida was already turning to the guests with a professional hostess smile. "As I said, this is the perfect place for your corporate retreat. And this is my son Alexei, the chef about whom I talk so much." A tall man with a well-cared beard reached out. "Grigory Maltsev. I heard a lot about his talent." Alexei tightened his hand reluctantly, throwing an interrogative look at his mother. "They are relatives of Svetlana, their brother Igor's wife," said Zenaida, as if that resolved everything. "Grigory Ivanovich owns a construction company, and this is his wife, Diana Andreevna." Alexei nodded, vaguely remembering his brother's recent marriage, an event of which those strangers were absent. The other couple was presented as Stanislaw, a partner of Grigory, and Eve, his wife. "Enchanted," lied Alexei dryly. "I just didn't understand." Zenaida didn't let the phrase end. Pulling his son to a corner, he urgently whispered, "Don't disappoint me. They give a job to Igor. I told you that you are a genius in the kitchen and would do anything for the family." Alexei felt the irritation boil inside. "Mom, do you know what you are doing? I brought strangers to my house and promised that I would be their waiter without even consulting me." "Ah, to that, just prepare something tasty. They eat, drink, and everyone is happy. Igor has just been hired by them. It needs to make a good impression." Alexei reined you the teeth. "I had other plans for today." "Son, for the sake of God," said Zenaida, "you know how Igor needs this job after the last resignation." Alexei sighed deep. Unlike him, the brother never had focus or ambition. She changed her work like changing her shirt, and her mother always protected him as if he were a fragile child. "Okay." Alexei gave in to the will. "But it's the last MA time." Zenaida's face illuminated. "Of course, of course." She turned to the guests enthusiastically. "Come on. Get in. Alexei will show where they can settle while preparing lunch." The strangers followed Zenaida as if they already owned the place, admiring every detail of the house with evaluating looks. Alexei, in turn, went to the kitchen with a dark expression, trying to decide what to do with the few ingredients he had brought: only the essentials for a lone weekend: fresh vegetables, some steaks at plain grilling for himself, a pasta package, and a homemade plate glass. Nothing to serve to impress five demanding people. As she rolled the fridge, she unintentionally heard the conversation in the living room. "This place is perfect for our meetings outside the office," said Diana to her husband. "And if this chef is as good as Zenaida said, we could hire him for our events." Grigory replied with disdain, "Only if he puts aside these Italian freshness. I want simple things: barbecue, potato." Eva, Stanislaus' wife, laughed. "I want to try something sophisticated, authorial." Alexei clenched his fists. They already shared their space, their time, without even asking permission. That's when Zenaida appeared in the kitchen, radiant. "So, my son, have you decided what will it be?" Alexei took a deep breath. "Mom, I don't have enough food for 5 people. I just brought the basics to me." "Don't worry, I thought of everything," she announced triumphantly and ran out. He came back a minute later with 2 giant bags. "I bought everything: barbecue meat, vegetables, fruits, Wine. Alexei espoused the content and felt his stomach turn. Cheap pork cuts, dubious quality frozen vegetables, bottles of mediocre wine. Mom, this is not what I usually use. What difference does it make? She said. Prepare something tasty and ready. The important thing is to impress. Something inside Alexei snapped. He was tired of being used as a bargaining chip to save his irresponsible brother. First were the private classes at school, then help her to enter college which Igor abandoned, and now her profession, and even her country house were being sacrificed in the name of a career that her brother didn't even seem to really want. Suddenly a brilliant and a little wicked idea crossed his mind. If you had to play a role, it was your way. Okay, mother, he said, with a smile that didn't come to the eyes. I'll prepare lunch. Just give me a while. Zinaida came out radiant, while Alexei began to take the ingredients out of the bag. An hour later, the balcony was excited. The guests, relaxed by wine and landscape, discussed business as if they were in a five-star resort. Zinaida, euphoric, kept the conversation flowing, looking anxiously to the kitchen door. When Alexei finally appeared, carrying a large platter, everyone was silent. Ladies, he announced, with an exaggerated accent, allow me to present the first delicacy. Swine neck carpaccio with special ketchup and garlic sauce. The guest faces frozen. The platter was placed on the table with a theatrical gesture. About it, irregular slices of pork, cut without precision, shone under an unequal layer of ketchup, where whole pieces of garlic floated like icebergs in a red sea. The guests exchanged disconcerted looks. Grigori, the most cautious of the group, hesitated before taking the fork to his mouth. Interesting, he murmured without conviction, as if the word were a random thrown bait, not knowing whether it would attract praise or disdain. Is it an authorial creation? Asked Eva, examining his portion with the curiosity of those who observe a scientific experiment. Oh, yes. Alexei radiated enthusiasm, as if he was presenting a masterpiece. My personal interpretation of the classic Italian recipe. In Italy, of course, they use Ciarron bovine, but I wanted to innovate. Zinaida Viktorovna watched him with apprehension in her eyes. She knew her son's talent well and knew that it was not even a shadow of what he was able to do. The next dish will be served in 15 minutes, Alexei announced, before disappearing back to the kitchen, leaving behind him a loaded silence. The second dish was even bolder, or, in fact, more disastrous. A mountain of battered pasta and a suspicious color sauce, where frozen vegetables, peas, and carrots floated like castaways in a thick swamp. Fusilli and 3-caste cheese sauce with frozen peas and carrots, Alexei presented, as if describing a royal banquet, a classic among gastronomy students in France. Practical, nutritious, and unforgettable. Diana Andreevna tasted a fork, and for a second, her face writhed in an almost imperceptible grimace. But she recovered fast, sketching a forced smile. Very original, he said, as if original were an elegant euphemism for edible with effort. Zinaida Viktorovna felt like she was sitting on embers. Each fork of the guest was stabbed in his reputation. She knew that Alexei was able to create dishes that would make even the most severe critics surrender. But today he seemed determined to serve the opposite, a grotesque parody of himself. The apex of the night came with the dessert. Industrialized cookies, crushed without ceremony and drowned in condensed milk, served in bowls that seemed to have been chosen at random. A tribute to childhood, Alexei said, with the serenity of those who have a relic. Simple but emotion-filled ingredients. Grigori pushed the spoon without even touching the dessert. Look, Alexei, he began, with the patience of those who choose the words carefully. Your mother told us that you are a professional chef. And I am, Alexei replied, with a smile that didn't come to the eyes. I just prefer experimental cuisine. Not everyone is prepared for these gastronomic revelations. It was too much for Zinaida Viktorovna. She grabbed her son's arm tightly, dragging him to a corner of the room. What are you doing? He hissed, with the trembling voice of contained fury. You're ashamed. To me? Yourself? To the whole family? No. Mother. Alexei kept his calm, as if he were explaining something obvious to a child. I'm doing exactly what you asked. I'm cooking for them. If they didn't like it, that's their problem. You were not hired to be the personal chef of Igor's wife's relatives. She exploded softly, but with intensity, of course. But you put me in this position without consulting me. Your tone was cold, accurate. You promised something that wasn't yours to offer. My kitchen, my time, my professionalism, all used as a bargaining chip without my consent. At that moment, Grigori approached, with a tense smile. Zinaida Viktorovna, Alexei started, clearly looking for a diplomatic exit. Unfortunately, we have to go. Our commitments today extended more than expected. But you said they would be until night, protested Zinaida, the panic dyeing his voice. The plans have changed. Diana Andreevna intervened, already getting up. We thank you for the hospitality. 15 minutes later, the guest car disappeared on the road, leaving behind a Zinaida Viktorovna on the edge of a nerve attack and an uncommitted Alexei. What did you do? She attacked him as soon as the door closed. Do you know what this means for Igor? What will these people think of us now? Mom, Alexei sighed, as if explaining for the 100th time. You put me in this situation. He dragged Strange to my house without warning, promised a first-class chef without consulting me, used my work to save it once more. His gaze was firm, almost hard. You always do that. Always. And today I decided it is enough. Grigori's offer arrived as a scam of luck or perhaps of destination. He proposed Alexei a society and an innovative gastronomic project, something that could raise both of a new level. And for the first time, Zinaida Viktorovna did not interfere. He did not move a piece on the board, did not whisper unrequired advice, did not try to manipulate the result in his favor. She simply observed, with a mixture of astonishment and relief, while their two children, each in their own way, proved that they were able to fly without their protective wings. What has changed? It was not a sudden insight, but the deaf pain of seeing Alexei looked at her with a coldness calculated, as if she were a strange that had invaded her life. It was Igor's embarrassing silence in those next days, when he, for the first time, did not go to her in search of solutions. It was the bitter understanding that when trying to hold on everything in his hands, she had almost crushed what she loved most. And then, something unexpected happened. Igor, that same Igor who always stumbled into his own decisions, flourished. Free from the weight of maternal expectations, he discovered a hidden talent, an almost instinctive skill to see process failures and optimize them with surgical accuracy. The numbers, which once looked like a dead end, now aligned in their fingers like pieces of a finely fitted puzzle. The colleagues were looking for him. The results spoke for themselves. And Zinaida, for the first time, he saw in him not the troubled son who needed to be saved, but a competent professional who did not need a shadow to shine. As for Alexei's Dacia, she remained exactly as he always dreamed, a refuge, no longer a stage for family stagings, no longer a space violated by forced invitations. The doors opened only to whom he chose, and yes, sometimes the Malchiki were among these guests, but now they arrived as friends, not as changed favors or obligations fulfilled. It laughed, drank, discussed recipes until high in the morning, not because they should, but because they wanted to, because finally, there was respect. And that was, in the end, the great learning. The whole family, even Zinaida, with its scars of a life dedicated to controlling the uncontrollable, understood that love is not measured in invasive gestures or unilateral sacrifices. Love, the true, is in recognizing that even those we carry in the blood have the right to trace their own ways, to make mistakes, to get it right, exist beyond our expectations. The help that really matters is not the one we impose, but what we offer with open hands, ready to retreat if necessary, because, deep down, even the strongest roots suffocate if they leave no room to grow.